All right, so this is our recording for the Mainly Moonology podcast for the week beginning July 14. All right, so here we go. This week could shake you to your bones, maybe in a good way, but it could also spiral out of control. That's what we're talking about this full moon week on the Mainly Moonology podcast. And then beep, all the music goes in here. All right, so, okay, just give me a second. All right, so, hi and welcome back to the Mainly Moonology podcast. I'm very excited to have a very honoured guest with us this week, and we're going to be talking about some pretty intense astrology that only happens about every 2 years. And, when I said it could shake your world in the intro, I actually meant it because it's a quite electric, and it's actually kind of like fire meets electricity kind of energy this week. And we're going to talk about that in depth and why you need to be paying attention to everything that's going on this week, not least, of course, because it's also a full moon week. But before we get started, let me introduce my beautiful guest, who also is my birthday twin, the lovely Cassandra Tyndall, who is over there in Queensland, Australia. Welcome, Cassandra. Let me just tell everyone about you. So, Cassandra is an astrological consultant who says she finds joy in helping people unravel who they are and what they're going through, where they're going, and also working with the magical and mystical art of astrology. As an astrology teacher, Cassandra runs an online teaching platform and the Golden Circle Club, which is her membership, where thousands of individuals learn how to empower themselves to lead divinely inspired lives. A big part of Cassandra's practice involves traveling locally and internationally. Haven't been to London lately, I'm sorry to say. Hopefully that's on the cards or in the stars.
It'd be fun.
Classes and workshops, that would be fun. And she's had the honour of teaching at some of the world's most esteemed astrology conferences like UAC, NORWAC and ISAR. So, and Cassandra also writes extensively about astrology. In fact, sometimes she even writes for me when I ask her very, very nicely. So, Cassandra, thank you very much for joining us. How are you? What's news over there?
Oh, thank you for having me back, Yasmin. It's always great. How are things here? Well, it's a bit of a cruisy vibe. School holidays at the moment, so just enjoying life and just relishing in Cancer season, really.
Right. So let's get right to it. Talking of cruisy, this astrology, because we're recording this a bit in advance, so we're not feeling it yet, but this astrology for the week that we are recording, which is the week beginning July 15, kind of intense astrology, don't you think? Actually, July 14, I should say. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it is a little bit, I don't know, for me, I probably would not choose the word intense. I would say a little bit more electric. Volatile, firecracker energy.
Okay, so let's first talk about Mars. You're the girl with the red hair. So tell us your views on Mars.
Oh, I love Mars, and I have Mars in Taurus. So Mars is your energy planet. First and foremost, it's where you kind of get your energy, your mojo. And one of my favorite ways to describe the planet Mars is when your feet hit the floor in the morning, what do? You know, some people just need a little bit of space. They might want to have a chat. Some people like to, eat. I just go straight to the kitchen. It's like, I need my coffee, I need my food. So Mars is that sort of idea of, where does your energy come from? In what direction does that go in? Obviously, the sign will tell you that. It will show you how you maybe defend yourself. You know, if you're attacked or in an argument or a lover's tiff or what have you. It also will show you how you protect other people. You know, are you a fast mover? Are you a slow mover? Where your general energy and motivation comes from.
Yeah.
So that's,
lots
of things, like the assertiveness, your confidence, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yes, I've got Mars in Gemini, and I remember one of my first astrology teachers saying to me, yeah, you'll just talk people to death. That's so true.
That's
in an argument, that'll be me, like motor mouth, Mars in Gemini.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and so the way I like to describe Mars, if I can share that, I always think of Mars as like the engine of the zodiac. If astrology were a car, if the planets
Mm,
and astrology was a car, Mars is the engine. Take Mars out and the car's going nowhere. It's sort of it's
yeah.
the thing that just pushes us along and helps us go places and helps us
Mm,
it's our drive, it's our determination, and it's what we're chasing, and how much we want to chase it and how much we don't want to chase it.
yeah. It's your
Beautiful. So
action planet.
exactly.
Mm,
So and hang on a second, let me just send that to voicemail. There you go. Sorry about that. We can edit that out,
okay.
please, Ellie. Okay, so now let's talk about the planet with the crazy name that we astrologers have just renamed it, Uranus. So what do you want to say about Uranus, Cass?
Uranus is one of the more outer planets. So you can't see that with the naked eye. It's one of our more recently discovered bodies. And Uranus is a planet that really speaks to the idea of being authentic, going against the grain, pushing against the status quo. It's the idea of not all storms come to disrupt your life, but that some of them clear your path. And so sometimes Uranus will bring that disruption, the separation, the volatility, that turbulence. But sometimes that's what it takes to generate the change. And we all have our own unique relationships with change. Some of us are resistant, while others are, yeah, come at me, let's do it. And so when we are activated by Uranus, it's really going to speed up that process of change. Authenticity is a really big piece when Uranus is involved. How would you
Yeah.
describe it?
So yeah, all that for sure, 100%. One of my favorite, I love it when sort of new things come along and then we go, now where does
Mm,
it fit into our paradigm of astrology? And
mm,
one word that's come up in the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years is disruption, a disruptor,
yeah.
something that comes along and disrupts the market or whatever. To me, that's Uranus. It's like the disruptor. It's the chaos. It's the upheaval. But it's actually about liberation. So it's not, like you say, it's not bad chaos necessarily. It can be just this big break, this radical change, radical turnaround that actually frees you, liberates you, and awakens you. Actually, it's
Yeah, awakening's
kind of
good. Yeah.
yeah. And this week we have something that only happens about once every 2 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's only going to be about every 2 years.
Yeah.
Because Mars takes about 2 years to go around the zodiac. So once every 2 years, whereas Uranus takes about 84. Once every 2 years, Mars meets Uranus. So we've said Mars is the fiery planet, Uranus is the electric planet, and we have fire and electricity. So what
Mm.
can people expect this week, and how do you think people should work with it? Really, if we're talking about the astrology of the week ahead, it has to be about Mars.
Totally. I mean, you're totally right about the time frames every 2 years. What makes this particular, there's many reasons, but one of the reasons that this conjunction is quite unique, it is the last one we'll experience in Taurus. So before
Precise.
Uranus moves into Gemini. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
assuming
so
you're not like you've just not been born, but if you're just been, unless you're
for the
quite young,
majority
you
of
probably
us,
won't
we're
get
not
it
going
again. Yes.
to we're not going to see this one again. Yeah. So because Uranus only passes over this area of the zodiac every 84 years. So this is a very unique period of time. And also what makes this more unique is that Mars doesn't really enjoy being in Taurus a great deal. And Uranus is the most change inducing planet, whereas Taurus is the most actively resistant to change sign there
Yeah.
is.
Nice point.
So it's uncomfortable. And so for some people, this aspect I feel is going to be when push comes to shove sort of thing. It's a really going to, whether you want the change or not, it's going to happen. And then for some people, if they've already had a lot of change, and they're thinking, oh, no, not more, this may be the part that really brings that authentic action and that authentic expression through for you. One phrase I've been using with clients a lot recently with this, and it's kind of one I really like, especially when we're talking about the energy of Taurus. If you don't choose the change, then the change chooses you and you have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
mean, yeah.
yeah, so it
Sorry.
is a bit about you got to, we can resist it all we want. It's coming
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, obviously you probably are too, because you're my fellow Cancerian, but I'm very much into eclipse energy. I really understand eclipse energy. I can feel it viscerally almost. And I feel like something like Mars conjunct Uranus is very like an eclipse energy. It's like where things just go bang. So, for me, I think anyone listening, just, it's like, don't be scared. Doesn't mean it's going to be awful, but it's sort of like, where do you need to just let go? One of the really, really powerful phrases for me with Uranus is one I already mentioned, which is radical change. And then, Mars is like the fire that lights up the electricity and sets everything, ablaze. And it can be where if you're resisting it, as you say, it's just like resistance is futile. And so should we just quickly run through for people where it is in their chart? Like say,
like
for example,
if you have it,
if your Aries rising, then it will be in your second house. So that's going to be about cash, property, and possessions. So it could be a nice big change. It could be a difficult change. It kind of depends on, like, because of the nature of this alignment, it's very much like you say, just let go, because you can't hang on anyway. So it can be, if you've been clinging on to something, it can just be like you just get thwacked off it and there's just no choice. And that applies to all the houses we'll go through really quickly. But it can also be liberation and a radical turnaround, which is a good one. So let's do one and one, okay? So I've done Aries rising, cash, property, and possessions. So Taurus rising, what you got for it?
Sort of all about you as an individual, your body, your appearance, your style, the way that you present yourself. If you've been thinking, oh, yeah, I really want to do something different for my hair, my clothes, or just do something that's actually about you, your physical body in particular. It's like, go for it. Buy the new outfit that you think, should I really be wearing this? It's go for it. Yeah.
My only caution on that one, we won't talk for hours about each sign, but my only caution on that one would be careful on the hair. Because it's quite permanent if you just suddenly decide you're going to, chop it all off and go 1 inch long and blue, which is a very Mars-Uranus kind of thing to do. So, to do something like
maybe
crazy
avoid the permanent things.
Exactly. Uranus has we haven't actually mentioned it, but Uranus has experimentation, but it also has a bit of the crazy, 5 cups of crazy. I used to call it the planet of 5 cups of crazy. So, okay. So Gemini rising. Okay, so that's going to be interesting. It's in the 12th house. So if you're Gemini rising, it can mean some kind of radical turnaround for you in the way you approach your spirituality. And it can also be about breaking free from fears, having some fear coming up. I mean, that would be the aim, would be to try and think, what am I most scared of, and try and bust through it as you go through this week, and see what's it going to take for me to wake up from this fear and realize it's just fear, and to move through it. So, okay, then all our moon children.
Cancer on the 11th. Yeah, that's your friendships, your groups, your communities, colleagues, and things like that. So there might be some shakeups or disruptions, or possibly some upsets in friendship. But that might also help you figure out, are these my tribes people or not? So
exactly.
If you sort of don't ever really lose, you just either win or you learn. So if there is a bit of loss in this, it's onwards and upwards, isn't it?
Yeah. So then Leo rising is going to be in the 10th house. So this is an interesting one for Leos. I mean, Leos have actually, been having some quite intense astrology in recent time. And so I think with this, it can be massive changes to do with your career. The thing is, if you're Leo rising, we know that you now have Pluto, the planet of eruption. I'm just trying to think where we'll be on the 15th, but it's either in or about to be in your love zone or your relationship zone. So there's quite a lot of action going on already for Leo and Leo rising people. I'm just going to quickly look at the chart because I don't know.
Yeah, Pluto won't come into Capricorn for a while yet.
Yeah, no. So right now it's in their 7th house. So yeah, so if you're Leo rising, probably the best thing you can do this week is sort of like, for one thing, just be really careful if you work with your boss, because with Pluto in your 7th house and now Mars meeting Uranus in your 10th house, it could be like just losing your cool at work, and especially just avoid, you know, doing that with your boss because you might end up not having a job. But it can also be a time where you just go, bam, that's it, you know, change of career, change of job description, change of something. And it can actually be, again, you know, remember that liberation thing. So it can be where you finally start to do the thing you want to do. And Uranus has a strong sort of technological aspect to it. So, and it can be about working for yourself or working online, any of that, loads of energy for you if you're Leo rising. All right, so let's just keep going. I'm sure there's stuff that we could both add, but otherwise we'll be here all day. Virgo rising, take it away, Cass.
Yeah, I think this is a really good time to either update or really take action on your bucket list. You know, your hopes, your aspirations for the future, whether that's travel plans, study plans, you know, the big picture horizon stuff. It's don't overthink it, just push through and, you know, explore and open yourself up to a lot of possibilities.
Yeah. Great, love it. So then Libra rising people, it's taking place in your sex and money zone. So let's just talk about sex. It could be a time of sexual liberation. Mars is actually a very sexual planet. Uranus is the planet of, you know, doing things your way. So if you've got a willing partner, it could be a nice week for a bit of experimentation in the boudoir. And financially, you know, it can be a big upset to do with cash, but it could also be seeing a way forwards, a whole new way of doing your finances. Okay, Scorpio rising, Cass.
Yeah, this is a big one because it's all in the relationship zone, whether that's personal, can be professional.
Yeah.
So, you know, and Mars is, depending on whether you're using the traditional planets or not, but Mars is your ruler. So it's like your planet in the house of relationships.
So
you might
explain that for the ones who think.
Yeah. So for some people will see Pluto as their ruler, and that's not incorrect, but Mars was the traditional ruling planet before Pluto was discovered, which was almost 100 years ago. So Mars is, for all intents and purposes, your planet, and so it's deposited in your relationship. So it's like you're wanting to shake things up, you're wanting that authenticity, you're wanting to either cut and run or go to the next level. It's like, I'm here or I'm not, you know, it's very all or nothing, this energy coming through here. So authenticity is key, and being very honest, I think, is the key there with these two planets in the relationship area.
Yeah. And can we just say that we feel for all the Scorpio rising people who had Uranus in their love zone for so many years, but it's coming to an end. So your love life is going to slightly calm down.
It will. Yeah. And this is like the last hurrah. Like, are you in something that you're really enjoying, or are you just kicking tires? So that's where it's going to really help you to, might be a bit unsettling, but it will clear the path either for, you know, whichever way it goes.
Yeah. All right. So Sagittarius rising. Now that's an interesting one because it's in their 6th house, which in some ways is less impactful than others, but it's still really about why for Sagittarius rising people, it's been hard to get into a routine, or if you're in a really deathly dull routine, you'll be dying of boredom. So this, I guess, is a really good chance to change things up on the way you live your life on a daily basis, the little tiny details of how your life ticks over. If you feel that you need to. But it can also be just chaos and disruption this week. So, I mean, I'm a huge one for meditation. And I think of all the rising signs, if you're Sag rising, this is a good week to just get your meditation on, because it might be a bit chaotic, but meditation will help you understand that, you know, you're being released for stuff. And, you know, any upsets that are happening now are actually happening for you, not to you. All right, now let's go to Capricorn rising.
Capricorn. Yeah, so this is fun, joy, pleasure.
Yeah.
So this is like shake a little salt on your life, make it a little
Yeah.
bit spicier. This could be romance, do something sudden or surprising, a little bit of shock value if you're in a relationship or just getting to know somebody. So this could really just spice things up and get some momentum and passion and excitement back into that.
Yes.
It could also be about rediscovering a hobby, a joy, just something you enjoy doing as well. So it might be a sudden or unexpected turn of events or a plot twist with everything to do with romance, fun, joy, pleasure, and children are a part of that mix as well. So this is, accept that sudden invitation. You just never know where it might take you this week.
Or accept that sudden pregnancy announcement.
Ooh.
Yeah, never know.
Juicy.
Watch
Juicy,
out.
Yasmin.
Watch out. Okay, so then moving on to Aquarius rising. So that for the Aquarius rising people, it's taking place in your 4th house of home and family. So again, bearing in mind the long-term cycle we're in, you've had Uranus stirring things up for you in your personal life for quite a few years now. Lots of chaos up and down with the family, with mom, with dad, brothers, sisters, people who feel like family, flatmates, all that kind of stuff. And so, with this one, it's like, if things have been really stuck in a rut for you in your personal life, this can really shift things. But by the same token, mind how you go, because on the one hand, this is a really positive energy for just breaking free. On the other hand, it can be a massive argument at home, whoever you live with, or with family or people who feel like family. So just sort of tread a little bit carefully, but it can be a time to just sort of, just change the way you do things in your personal life.
Yeah.
And last but definitely not least, Pisces rising.
Pisces. So this is your 3rd house. I love the 3rd house. It's so underrated in astrology. And for Pisces, they do have Saturn in their sign. So that heavy, relentless pressure, it's not going away. But what this aspect with Mars and Uranus in your 3rd house, I think, can do is just help you rediscover some passion, some energy in just your day-to-day routine. It's if we there's certain things each day we can't escape doing, but if we can find a little bit of meaning or purpose in those mundane everyday routines, what's the difference between a routine and a ritual? It's the meaning you give it. And so this might inspire you to just shake things up a little bit in terms of what you're doing on the daily energy stuff. Reading, writing is a big part of things. If you're really curious about learning something, taking a course, a weekend workshop, it's about really allow your passions to inspire you despite all that heavy pressure from Saturn. It might just be the little break in the weather that you need.
Yeah, and bite your tongue if you find yourself about to say something really effing outrageous.
Yeah, maybe that one too.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for that, Cass. So I hope that helps people understand the astrology for the week ahead. Now, let's take a look at the Moonology for the week ahead.
The moon, yes.
All right. So what we have this week is we have the full moon in Capricorn. So let's talk about that. I'm just pulling up the chart. Here we go. Full moon in Capricorn. So it's so let's start by saying it's the 2nd full moon in Capricorn in a row. Now, I've had a go at explaining what this means last week and the week before. Cass, what do you reckon it means? Shall I just quickly say what I think before?
Go for it. Because I don't want. I might say the same thing.
I'll just reiterate. Because I see it. Because I work with the moon in a kind of a spiritual way, so to speak. Yeah. So for me, every full moon brings an opportunity to let go, move on, forgive, surrender, all that. And so one of the things I've been saying is that this month, with the 2 full moons in Capricorn in a row, it's like the universe is giving you double the chances to just let go of wherever in your chart it is. And we're not going to go through all the signs for this one. I'm sure that you will do it in your Golden Circle membership. I will do it in my Mainly Moonology membership. for everybody who wants to know the details. But yeah, so how do you see the 2 full moons in a row, Cass?
Well, the full moon is the brightest light that the moon gets, right? So it really illuminates, spotlights, highlights. So it's really like flashing our Capricorn house right now. It's like,
Yeah.
pay attention, because we've had Pluto exit Capricorn for a little while. So maybe we haven't been paying attention to our Capricorn house in some way. And so what I find is really interesting, that this full moon it's an out of sign conjunction, but it falls very close to Pluto. But this is the full moon at 29 degrees, where
Yeah.
Pluto is going to sit for about 10 weeks from early September through to November 20 this year. So it's almost like we're getting a little bit of a heads up with this full moon, what this last leg of Pluto, which will be the last one for all of us, because no one's living longer than
Been
250
going on
years.
so long, this flip-flopping between Capricorn and Aquarius, because
Correct.
every time I write my Moonology diary, I'm like, oh, finally Pluto's moving into Aquarius full time. No, it's still not. It's
No,
like
yeah,
been
yeah.
going on and on.
So we do have one Pluto and Capricorn rodeo to go. So this full moon is asking us to become aware of something. And from your perspective too, Yasmin, it might be, well, maybe you just have to forgive and let go of something, rather than the Pluto piece of holding on or being retentive about it or obsessive. So there's this maybe awareness, yep, that thing's there, but I'm just not going to hold on to it. I'm going
Yeah.
to release, surrender, and,
Yeah. And I'm just going
unleash.
to disgust everyone for a moment, but I'm sorry, it is the truth. So Pluto is about a lot of things, but one way to look at it is like the plumber of the zodiac. So just imagine, okay, now if you are very faint-hearted, just stick your fingers in your ears for a second and whistle. But it's like, imagine a blocked toilet, it's full of all that CRAP and SHIT. And, then you get the plumber over and he gets his plunger thing out and he does that and it all goes. And that's very Plutonic. And having the full moon triggering Pluto, it's really a time where if you are really intent on detoxing something in your life and releasing it, letting it go, unblocking it, unblocking the SHIT, it's kind of that, isn't it? It's a really good time to just say, you know what, I'm really doing this time.
And on the back of a Mars-Uranus conjunction,
Yeah.
yeah, it could actually be more literal than we might like to think. Like a big eruption, a big disruption. It's like, oh, we really got to clean this one out.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that's a bit of a disgusting analogy, but if you can think of it like that, to people who are listening, if you can think of it as, where do I need to, unblock the SHIT in my life, because we've all got it. And I believe that we're all here on this planet to evolve. And if you let it all get too backed up, it's really hard. It just becomes jammed and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So this week it's like, almost, if we kind of do the full circle of talking about Mars, Uranus and the full moon conjunct Pluto, it's almost like going back to what Cass said about, be authentic, be real, and you will liberate yourself and unblock something that's had you really stuck. So even though, I would maintain this is going to be a very powerful week that's going to be very sort of challenging for some people, because it is challenging energies. But it really is a case of, if you can kind of keep your head while you're going through all this, you could actually come out the other side feeling liberated, awakened, released, clear, detoxed, all that. So even though it's a big week, it can be a really good week. So it's, for me, I would say, very much a week to live very consciously, try and be aware, am I starting to lose my temper with this person? Thinking about where the Mars-Uranus conjunction is for you, where we went through all the different houses by the rising signs. Am I losing my temper? Am I losing my cool? Am I being erratic? Am I just barging through it away? Because Mars-Uranus as well has, Mars barges and Uranus kind of doesn't care what anyone thinks anyway. So it is a bit of a selfish thing. But it's sort of like, can you make that a positive? Can you put yourself first? Can you be real? And then can you sort of unblock that toilet?
Yeah. And in the earth signs too, I like what you said there, Yasmin, about sort of staying grounded or being practical. You know, being an earth signs, you know, some of the disruption might be about earth things in terms of, you know, money, resources and stuff like that. But
because it's in, just so everyone knows, because it's in Taurus, which is an earth sign.
Yes, exactly. And Capricorn's also the earth sign. So
a
lot of the energy here this week is earth. So staying grounded, like still not being stuck in the earth stillness and trusting in your instincts and intuition. You know, Mars and a full moon can help really guide you this week. And not kind of be a skippy in the headlights in the earth energy and get stuck.
All right, so let us conclude our discussion about the Moonology for the week ahead, and now let us do a reader Q&A, and then we're going to do a card for the week. So let's start with the question from our reader. All right, let me just get the question up. You can edit that, please, Eileen. All right, okay, so who's it from? RDH. Okay. All right. So this is the first time we've had a reader question that's come in from someone who's listened and just asked a question. If you'd like to send in your questions, you can send them to support@yasminbolden.com. So this week we have a question from a reader whose email is RDH313. You know who you are. And the question is, and Cass and I both thought this was a really good question. I've noticed in my Moonology diary 2 upcoming dates when Jupiter squares Saturn, when we could also put that Jupiter is clashing with Saturn. That's August 19 and December 24, Christmas Eve, for those of us who celebrate it. Is this a rare occurrence to happen more than once in a year? I feel a bit apprehensive if this is a negative event. And thank you for all the work you do. So, Cass, I'm going to let you have first bite at the Jupiter-Saturn cherry.
Okay. Is it negative? I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say it's negative. No. There's a couple of reasons for that. Jupiter in Gemini is expansion, a lot of opportunities, a lot of information. It's optionality kind of on steroids. Then we have Saturn in Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, the traditional rulership, not Neptune from my eye. And Saturn is a little bit about limitations or obstacles or sticking points. You know, Saturn's job is to say no, whereas Jupiter's job is to say yes.
Oh, so I love that.
When they clash, so how we could look at Saturn is looking at Jupiter for its guidance in this aspect because it's ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter kind of has a little bit more of a leg up. How I would see this for people, and it's going to happen to all of us in our Gemini areas and in our Pisces areas, where you want to go forward in one direction, but there's a bit of checks and balances in the other. Jupiter's kind of hosting a little bit of a cranky house guest right now. So it's a little bit like that, where you may want to feel like you want to go forward in one area, but another area, there's just a stumbling block or an obstacle that you have to keep on like hitting that wall on. So I don't see it as exactly, I don't necessarily see it as a negative thing. How I would also look at it is when Jupiter and Saturn conjoined in December of 2020. What did you start then? What happened then? What area of life did you plant a seed in, proverbially? And now we've hit these first series of squares, and then start to think, what's working, what's not? Where do I need to maybe put some boundaries or figure out the priorities versus where do I need to just go yes and say yes. So it is a little bit of a yes, but not yet energy. Don't say no to opportunities, maybe say maybe, and don't say yes to opportunities because then it might come back and bite you. Yeah. So it is this sort of idea of every point of growth, you hit an edge. And when you hit that edge, that's when you're inclined to maybe give up. It's too hard. things aren't working out for me, etc., etc. But then that's when you've got to double down on the Jupiter and the faith and go, okay, what other options have I got to overcome this issue?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to read it. I don't think it's an negative aspect, but it is inviting a challenge.
Yeah. Actually, I just thought of, excuse me, I thought it's just sort of a phrase that's actually perfect for this: cautious optimism.
Yes. Yes. I like that.
Go
Very good.
forward
Yeah.
with cautious optimism, and don't
Mm.
feel that, you don't stumble at the first hurdle. Do understand that, more cliches, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's about going forward, keeping optimistic, keeping positive, seeing what's coming up, and realizing, on the path of life, I'm going to wax lyrical here for a moment, but sometimes on the path of life, there's a storm and the trees fall down and you have to move the trees out of your way before you can go forwards. It can be a bit like that, a bit like just keep clearing the way, go forward gently. And, they've both got a real learning aspect to them, haven't they, Jupiter and Saturn? So maybe it's really about as well, where are the lessons? The brakes are being put on me. I just want to go, yay, free willing through life, but the brakes are on me. What are the lessons I'm being taught here? What does the universe want me to understand, my soul to understand, so that I can evolve, which is, in my world, it's kind of why we're here. So overall, RDH313, don't be apprehensive. It's good you're paying attention. And also, I just wanted to mention, just because some people won't understand, the reason why this is happening is because of retrogrades. So it's happening twice because of retrograde. So, it's not a bad thing. And the important thing as well with retrogrades is that, often it's like a second chance. If you didn't quite manage it in August, maybe in December, you'll get the lessons of whatever it's going to be.
And Jupiter and Saturn will square again in 2025, but each of those planets would have changed signs into Aries and into Cancer. So it'll have a different flavor, different areas of life for each of us. Yeah.
Yes. There we go. Okay, fantastic. So do send in your questions. Support at yasminboland.com, and we will answer one a week. Okay, beep. And now we are going to do a card for the week. So, Cass, what we do every week is we do a card, and I probably
It's a tarot.
I think I should probably use my cards, but I'm not using my cards this week. This week I'm actually going to use this deck. If I can get them in focus. There we are. It's Colette Baron Reid's Wisdom of the Oracle. Honestly, one of my favorite decks that isn't mine. Have you got some cards there?
Yeah. We should do a double dose.
All right, let's do a double dose. So what I'm going to say is, what do we need to know this week about this Mars-Uranus conjunction and the Capricorn full moon? Like, what's the best advice from the universe to us? So I've picked a card here. Do you want to pick one there as well?
Yeah.
All right.
You're just the master shuffler and I'm not.
Shall we say to people, you can choose one card or the other? Or do we say that it's a combined reading? Let's do a combined reading, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So I'll go first. No, you're the guest. You go first.
Oh, you should go first. It's your podcast.
Okay. All right. So the card we got from Colette Baron Reid's wonderful deck is Go the Distance. So for me, this card is really going to be about, even if there is a bit of chaos this week with Uranus, the Mars-Uranus conjunction, even if you feel like you're on a very rocky boat or a very bumpy flight or something like that, don't give up. Just keep going. Endurance, strength, the long haul. So the message in the interpretations booklet is, to bring your dream to life, you must think long-term and pay no attention to the fluctuations in your current experience. So really, it's almost like, okay, there could be chaos this week, but don't let it completely put you off. And what did you get? Did you actually use regular tarot?
Yeah. I've got tarot here. So I have the Six of Pentacles. Pentacles is nice, especially with all this earth energy coming through. And the way I would read this is it's sort of like if you've got gifts to offer them. If you can help somebody, help them. And with this sort of recalcitrant, obstinate Taurus energy, also receive help if it's offered. You don't have to do it all by yourself. It's this idea of reciprocity, particularly with the full moon, a
Yeah.
generosity, whether you're giving or receiving.
Yeah.
So it's good to
So
have some
maybe,
pentacles with the earth energy there.
yeah, maybe we can sum it up as, if you put that one up again so we can see
Oh,
both
yeah.
of them. Yeah. Maybe it's like go the distance and receive help if you need it and give help if you need it. You know, it's like
Yeah.
whatever happens this week, if you need help, seek it out. And if you're in a position to help someone, because there will be people whose lives are a bit tumultuous this week, be the benefactor.
Yeah, love it.
All right, brilliant. So all that remains, Cass, is for you to tell our people where they can find you on the internet.
Oh, on the internet. Okay, thank you. My website is cassandratyndall.com. I also have a YouTube channel. I usually put 2 videos out a week there. My Golden Circle, which is a membership where I guide you through the astrology every week. And I'd also love to offer a special offer for all of Yasmin's listeners. If a reading is something that you're into and that you would like deeper guidance, particularly into these Jupiter Saturn squares that are a feature for the rest of this year, and just sort of get a heads up on H2 and how you can prepare this year for some of what's coming in 2025. I'd love to offer a little discount code for your listeners, which I don't do too often, but if you put code MOON20 in the coupon-y discount-y thing on the website, that'll save you 20% too.
Amazing. Thank you, Cass. So
Yeah, my
yeah, and
pleasure.
just as
Birthday
a
gifts for everybody.
that's lovely. So just as a edit, Aileen, please, or Mark, we should put the link in the description. So now we can say, so Cass, thank you. That is amazing. Thank you very much. We will put the link in the description and the code so people can take you up on that. So that
Awesome,
was
thank
so
you.
fun. I really
It
enjoyed doing it.
was,
I actually
yeah.
want to do it again. So just wait, because I'm going to be tapping you again, please, to do that. It's so nice to go through it with someone. It's so different than just me talking to myself.
Well, thank you. It's always wonderful to connect with you and do this together.
All right, brilliant.
Done a few now.
All right, well, thanks everybody, and we'll speak to you next week. Lots of love.
Bye, thank you.
That was so fun, Kat.